Very good morning, all of you. Yesterday we completed unit number 5, statistics, one of the important chapter from your career point of view. And today we will be starting with unit number 6, probability and linear algebra. So along with statistics, probability also a very important topic. And during your career, at many a times you will have to apply the fundamentals of probability, linear algebra and statistics to solve many problems. And you know that now nowadays we generally talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, internet of things and so many things, right? And when we talk about these terms, AI, ML, and all these things, a common fundamental is probability and statistics. So, if your probability and statistics is not good, then your understanding about artificial intelligence and machine learning may be weaker, at weaker side. So, in my opinion, you should take these two topics, especially probability and statistics, and along with the curve fitting that we already studied in unit number 4, that is linear regression analysis. So, these units are very important. And especially when we talk about this chapter, unit number 6, probability and linear algebra, most of the fundamentals you already studied in your previous years, maybe in 11th, 12th, or during your diploma or first year and second year courses. So fundamental point of view, the concepts are not new to you, but we will try to elaborate more in order so that you will get more applied version of the probability and linear algebra. So with this brief introduction, we will start our today's session. So total we need 8 lectures, but I will not take 8 lectures. Within 4 or 5 lectures we will be completing this particular unit, as most of the contents are already delivered in previous years. And once we complete this particular unit, our syllabus will be over. Again, the contents in probability are joint probability, conditional probability, marginal probability. Then we will see Bayes theorem, then independence, theorem of total probability, expectation and variance, random variables, probability distributions. In that we will see binomial, Gaussian, geometric, uniform, exponential, gamma, normal and chi-square or chi-square. So these are distributions we will see, and along with the probability theorems. And in case of linear algebra, the review of matrix operations. So as it is a review, so we can do it. Along with that, vector and vector spaces and linear mapping. So these are the contents of unit number 6, probability and linear algebra. So with this, we will start with the probability point. So when we talk about probability, so generally we need to start with the classical definition of probability. So generally in most of the books you will find this type of definition for probability. If a random experiment can result in n mutually exclusive and equally likely outcomes, and if m of these outcomes are favorable to an event A, then the probability of occurrence of event A is defined as this particular equation. Okay, so what I wanted to convey is that when we look at these definition, so many words are not understandable, or overall definition is very complex. For example, what do you mean by mutually exclusive, equally likely outcomes? So these are the very complicated terms. On if you search on Google, you can very easily understand. But when we talk about probability, then we generally are interested in favorable outcome, or the outcome in which we are interested. And In simple words, probability that event A will occur is nothing but the favorable number of outcome to A divided by total number of outcome. For example, suppose you toss a coin for 100 times. Then the outcome, when every time when you toss the coin, the outcome will be either head or tail, right? So if you are interested to know out of 100 how many times you will get head, so the favorable outcome will become your head, that will be considered as m here from mathematics point of view. And how many times you are tossing the coin? 100 times. So that will be the total outcome. So total outcome will be generally denoted by n. So the probability of getting head is nothing but m divided by n. That is favorable number of outcomes divided by total outcomes. And we know that the favorable outcome, that is m, is always greater than 0, because when you toss the coin for 100 times, at least one time you will get the head, right? So that's why we are saying the favorable outcome is greater than equal to 0. Either the head will occur for 0 time or greater than 0, and it is always less than equal to n, that is total outcome. So the value of m is generally lies between 0 and n. And when we say the value of m is between 0 and n, and it is divisible by n, so the probability value will always be between 0 and 1. So this particular observation is very important whenever we are calculating probability of occurrence or non-occurrence of an event. Your answer must be between 0 and 1. If you are getting the answer greater than 1 or less than 0, it means you did some wrong calculations. So whenever we say probability, the answer should be between 0 and 1. Sometimes the probability is expressed in terms of percentage. So one may say that 0% to 100%. So probability may be 0%, between 0% and 100%. So that we need to understand, and we need to check whether the probability is expressed in terms of percentage or it is expressed between 0 and 1. So what is important thing here, whenever you are calculating probability occurrence of any event, then favorable outcome divided by total outcome will provide you the probability. And the favorable outcome is generally between 0 and n, and therefore the probability of occurrence of event is always between 0 and 1. Now in first definition, what we have seen, we were talking about the favorable number of outcomes. Now, what about remaining outcome? Because m are the favorable outcomes, but if you take the difference between n minus 1, m, that is total outcome minus favorable outcomes, it will become a probability of occurrence, non-occurrence of event, non-occurrence of event A, that is non-favorable number of outcomes, and which is given by n by m. Okay, so as I mentioned that if we toss a coin for 100 times and out of 120 times you observed head, which is your favorable event. But what about remaining 80? 80 is tail, because 20 times you observe head. So for remaining 80 times you observe tail. So it is nothing but the probability of occurrence of tail or probability of non-occurrence of event A, and which is given by probability of A dash, that is probability of non-occurrence of event A, which is equal to n minus m divided by n. Here in first definition we saw that m upon n, here n minus m upon n, that is the other outcome divided by n. And if we simplify mathematically, then you will get 1 minus m upon n, and which is equal to 1 minus probability of occurrence of A, where probability of occurrence of A means m divided by n. So this is simple mathematics. So whenever we say the probability of occurrence of event A, at the same time there is a probability of occurrence, non-occurrence of event A. For example, suppose a person is there and we know that the probability of death is 80%. Then whenever we say 80% means out of 100, 80% chance that he will die. Then what about remaining 20%? The 20% is the chance of survival. That is probability of non-occurrence. Okay, so these are the basic understanding about basic definition of probability. And I will tell you here many times when you play with the data, this is simple definition is useful at many times and in general way. Okay, we will take one example. If a coin is tossed for 100 times and it resulted in 20 heads, what is the probability of getting head and what is the probability of getting tail? So this is the question. So probability of getting head, we can call this as a favorable event. So when we look at this particular problem, then we can say that as the coin is tossed for 100 times, so the total outcome, that is n, is equal to 100. And here outcome is 20 heads. So we can call this as a favorable event as m. Okay, so simply the probability of occurrence of head is nothing but m upon n. So m is the outcome as head and n is total number of outcomes. So 20 upon 100 is nothing but 0.2. So we can say that there is a 20% chance that the outcome will be head, or the probability of occurrence of head is 0.2. These are the two different ways to express the same. Similarly, the probability of getting tail, as the coin has only two sides, head and tail, and outcome will be either head or tail. So if the probability of getting head is 0.2%, then probability of getting tail is 1 minus probability of getting head, and probability of getting head is 0.2. So 1 minus 0.2 is equal to 0.8. So we can express this as probability that the outcome will be tail is 0.8 or 80%. So this is the simple example through which we can conclude. Now, which are the applications? See, in India or in most of the developing countries, the child death rate is very high. Okay, and generally government collect the data from all the hospitals and they maintain the record. And generally how they express, out of 100 birth, how many child's death in will die in 1 month or 1 year or 1 week. So in this way they express the data. So suppose out of 100 it is observed that 20 child die in within 1 month. So what does it mean? That out of 120 means 20% probability of death is there. So which is significantly higher. So what government will do? Government will take certain decisions. For examples, for pregnant women, they may start a scheme that the throughout the pregnancy period, the healthy food will be delivered to the pregnant woman. Again, government may improve the quality of the hospitals so that after birth all the necessary facilities will be provided. So if government took such type of decisions, then over the period of time the probability of death will not remain 20%. Slowly it will go down. And After 1 or 2 year, when again new data is collected by the government, then they may observe that the probability of death is decreased from 20% to 10%. So government may investigate. We reduce to 10%, but what additional efforts we need to take in order to uh, take that probability of death to 0%. So at United Nations levels or World Health Organization level, so many guidelines are provided to the developing countries, and accordingly they are providing the required facilities to the pregnant woman and to decrease the probability of death. So this is one of the example. Then we will go ahead and we will start with another uh, particulars of probability, and we will see here joint probability and marginal probability. So when we talk about probability, then there is no only simple that a favorable outcome divided by total outcome. There are so many additional terms that we need to understand. So whenever there are more than one event, the concept of joint probability, marginal probability, and conditional probability come into picture. Okay, so when we toss a coin, there are two events, either head or tail. Take another example. Take an example of a cube. Cube has a 6 sides. So when you toss that cube, then the outcome will be one of the 6 faces. So if the numbers are given on each face, then the outcome could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. One of the outcomes will be observed. So whenever more than two events are there, then in that case, the terms such as joint, marginal, and conditional probability come into the picture. Similarly, we can connect this with our health as well. For example, suppose consider three countries: United States, India, and let's say Zimbabwe. So the probability of death of the child in United States, that ratio will be, that probability will be different. In India, it will be different, and in Zimbabwe, it will be different. Now, suppose a child death is observed, then if we want to connect with one of the country, then we can have the values of probability of death in all these countries, and we can calculate the joint probability or conditional probability. So let's take one example. Consider a universe. Okay, and in that universe, let's say there are two events, A and B, and the universe size is already defined. In that universe, the circle showing the outcome as a event A is, you can see in the circle, and the outcome of event B is again shown in another circle. So this particular presentation may also called as a Venn diagram. Now when we look at this particular Venn diagram, then what we can see, there are 8 events belong to A. So, sorry, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which are belong to A. Now, when we talk about event B, so there are 5 times the event B occurs. And there is one event which is not either in A or either in B. So, this type of distribution can be seen in this particular diagram. Now, when we talk about exclusively a event A, exclusive, then how many events are there? 4 events are there, or 4 entities there. When we talk about exclusively event B, then there are 2 events. When we talk about an event which is neither in A nor in B, then it is also exclusive event, and we can see one event is there. Again, there is a overlapping between area A and area B. So this is the joint area, and which covers event A as well as event B. So this is the joint event, right? So such type of observations we can draw from this Venn diagram. And similarly, we can express the in terms of probability. For example, for the given Venn diagram, we may be interested to know the probability of occurrence of event A. Then it can be calculated as 7 by 10, because in event A there are total 7 outcome which are favorable events. So 7 you can see, and in the given inverse the total number of outcomes are 10. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are total 10 outcomes. Out of 10, event A carries 7 events. So probability of occurrence of event A is 7 by 10. Again, that you can convert it into point. Then you may be interested to know the probability of occurrence of event B, and which is given by 5 by 10. So out of 10, 5 numbers, the event B occurs divided by total number of event, that is 10. So 5 by 10 is the probability of occurrence of event B. Again, the probability that the event A and B occurs jointly. So here the word joint come into picture, and that is called as a joint probability, and in which we are interested. So whenever we are interested in joint probability, then we need to focus on the area where event A and event B both occur simultaneously. Then it is denoted by probability of A intersection B, because we are interested in the events which belongs to A as well as B, and there are such 3 events. So 3 divided by total number of events, so 10. 3 divided by 10. So this is how you can calculate the joint probability. Again, you may be interested to know the marginal probability of event A. So whatever we discussed in the previous slide or at the beginning, that is expressed as marginal probability. And see, you can see it is nothing but the probability that event A and event B both occur simultaneously. So probability of A intersection B means, in the Venn diagram you can see the joint area. So there are 3 events you can see in the highlighted area, and that you can see here. 3 upon 10 is the probability that event A and event B jointly occur. So it is 3 by 10. Now, along with that, probability of event A intersection B exclusive. So if we exclude this common area, then remaining events. So you can see in the circle A, there are 4 events where event B will not be jointly occurring. There is only event A, and the probability of occurrence of event A exclusively, then it is 4 by 10. So when we take the sum of this, then the answer will be again 7 by 10. So that answer we can observe here. So this is called as marginal probability. Now, in general way also, we already discussed that probability of occurrence of event A. So when we talk about only event A, then it is 7 by 10. And same thing we are expressing here. So these are the different terms that we need to understand. Then we will take one more example. And when you open any book, there are so many examples you will observe in the book. So the example is, a bag contains 100 marbles. So we can say that the total number of outcome could be 100, out of which 35 blue, 45 red, and 20 yellow marbles are there. Now, from that bag, if a marble is taken on a random basis, okay, a bag is there, 100 marbles are there, out of which 35 blue, 45 red, and 20 yellow marbles are there. And what you have to do, you have to draw one marble randomly. So you may have a question that what is the probability that the marble is blue? You are drawing a marble randomly, then what is the probability that it will be a blue marble? So there are 35 blue marbles and total marbles are 100. So simply probability of getting blue marble is 35, that is favorable outcome, divided by total number of outcome, and answer is 0.35. So there is a 35% chance that the marble is a blue marble. Second question may come, what is the probability that the marble is red? So probability of getting red marble is favorable outcome, that is in that bag out of 100, 45 red marbles are there and total marbles are 100. So answer is 0.45. So there is a 45% chance that the marble will be red. And last question is, what is the probability of that the marble is yellow? So answer you can see 20 yellow marbles are there divided by total marbles, and so answer is 20% or 0.2. So when we look at the answers of these three questions, then you can say that when you draw a marble randomly from that bag, there is a most probability that the marble will be of red color. Second, the probability that the marble will be of blue color, and lastly the yellow marble. So we will get some understanding that whenever there is a random sampling, probability of getting a red is higher because its probability is very high, 0.45 or 45%. So that understanding you can develop. Again, a fourth question may be asked to you, what is the probability that the marble is black? So when we look at the question, there is no black marble in that bag. So this is something odd questions, and maybe such questions is asked to confuse you. So you can see the answer. The probability of getting black marble is 0. Why 0? Because there is no black marble available in the bag. So probability is 0. Now, what is the probability that the marble is not blue? So this is something different question. So the question is related to blue, and we previously estimated the probability of occurrence of blue. So this is our favorable event. Now, what is the probability that the marble is not blue? So it is just the difference of 1 minus probability of blue. So the probability that the marble is not blue is 65%. So these are the some of the questions, and similar questions may be asked, may be related to number of defects. For example, you have a CNC machine, and when 1,000 components are manufactured on that CNC machine, then out of 1,000, 30 defective components get manufactured. So the probability that the given component is defected is 30 upon 1,000. That will be the probability of occurrence of defective component. Then another question could be, when we draw a random component from the lot of 1,000 component, what is the probability that it is non-defective? So 1,000 minus 30, that is 970 divided by 1,000. So that is the probability that you will get a good component. So such type of questions may be asked, and you also may come across. Now, the last point we will discuss and then we will stop, that is conditional probability. Okay, so this particular event is very important and often used. Okay, so what is conditional probability? So first of all, we will see its notation. So it is denoted by P oblique B, P into bracket A oblique B. So how it is pronounced, that probability that event A occurs given that the event B has already occurred, or conditional probability is the probability of event A occurring given that B already occurred. So when we look at the definition, you may feel that from understanding point of view it is bit difficult. Once again, I will tell you, when we talk about probability, conditional probability, and there are two events A and B in this case, then probability that event A will occur given that B has already occurred, means before A, B has already occurred. And it can be written as the conditional probability of A oblique B is equal to probability of A intersection B divided probability of occurrence of event B. We will take examples so that you will understand. So the probability that any given person has a curve on any given day may be only 5%. Okay, so a person of getting curve on a given day is having probability of curve. But if we know that the person is sick, then they are much more likely to be coughing. So if person is sick, then there is chance that he is sick due to the cough. So the one condition is the person is sick. And why is sick? Because of the cough. So for example, the conditional probability that someone unwell is coughing might be 75%, in which case we would have thought the probability of getting cough is 5% on any given day, and probability that a person got a cough given that he is sick, and this particular probability is 75%. And probability of cough you can see here. So by using this value, you can either calculate probability of A intersection B or vice versa. So although there is a relationship between A curve and B that is sick in this example, but every time this situation may not be true. So whenever you are dealing with the data, and if you observe that there is a relationship between the two events, in this case cough and a sickness. So you may be interested to know, if a person is sick, then what is the probability that he has a cough? Because why this particular example I have taken, because nowadays we know that in this pandemic situation many people are getting fever, but we may be interested to know, if a person got a fever, what is the probability that he has a COVID. So that value we are interested to know, because every time if you get a fever means it doesn't mean you got a COVID-19. So we need to use conditional probability to understand if a person getting a fever means what is the probability that he got a COVID. So how this particular problem is formulated? So continuously the data is collected at the health centers, and generally we know that nowadays when we got a fever we generally go for a COVID test. So the COVID test will result in either you have a COVID or not. So if you got a COVID, then that will be a favorable event. If you didn't get a COVID, that is an unfavorable event. So such a huge amount of data is collected, and suppose 1000 data you have collected, and from that you observe that when a person got a fever, then 50% people got a COVID. Then if suppose 1000 people got a fever, then out of 1000 people 500 will have a COVID symptom, means 50% chance that the fever person will have COVID-19. So such type of conditional probability we need to understand. Why? Because a person with fever, we cannot treat him like a COVID patient. So that's why this law, conditional probability law, come into picture, and it will help a lot to understand in more detail what is the probability that a person has a COVID if he get a fever. Okay, so that's it from my side for today's session, this particular session.